Okay, hello, folks at home. Today we're going to do a freebooters. This is kind of a ad hoc freebooters because of reasons. But the first thing we're going to talk about today is Mozilla, beloved company by all and beyond any kind of criticism, have decided to terminate their Mastodon instance. And I think this is a little bit worthy for discussion because, well, I don't know if I follow and am followed by a fair number of people on the Fediverse, and I can probably count on one hand how many times someone with the Mozilla instance has even appeared on my timeline, let alone spoken to me. And I don't entirely know what Mozilla were trying to do with their...
By having it.
Yeah. Like, is it... It just seems like it was something one employee just fired up and then forgot about. Like,
before we get into it, I love that you introduced this as this is an ad hoc reboot, as opposed to all of the other
probably scripted ones. Yeah,
thoroughly planned out.
Yeah. Scripted
so when the news what's the verb broke? When the news broke, I checked out the Mozilla.social, and it's only got 277 users. It's not like
I assumed that Mozilla.social was for Mozilla employees.
Yeah, that's what I assumed, but it seems not. It seems it was open registrations, right?
It seems so.
I mean, if it's them just out of the kindness of their hearts, running a Fedi server for people, that's great. But then why should it? Like, it can't cost much for Mozilla.
It can't cost much, but it probably distracts from things, right?
Well, it'd be one person just updating it now and then, and points and more. So what the consensus? Because they didn't give a reason, right, for why they're shutting it down.
Okay, well,
Go on, yeah.
Okay, so I've got the press release here. It says, "We've made the hard decision to end our experiment with Mozilla.social and will shut down the Mastodon instance on December 17th, 2024. You can continue to use Mozilla.social until December 17th. Before that date, you can download your data here and migrate your account to another instance following the instructions below. What will happen on December 17th? The Mozilla.social Mastodon instance will be shut down and all content and accounts will no longer be accessible. Your Mozilla account will remain active for access to other Mozilla products and services." So your Mozilla account will remain active for access to other Mozilla products. So I could log in with my Firefox Sync account.
I don't think so. No, that cannot possibly be true. No, but they make it sound like. Yeah. Your Mozilla.social Mastodon account cannot possibly be shared with anything else, can it? I mean, when I say possibly, it could, of course, they could have done it that way, but I don't think they did.
I don't think there's anything that's linked to it.
Yeah, no, going back to, they didn't give a reason. There's no reason in that. Also, first of all, why does everything have to be a fucking experiment? There's no experiment there. What are you looking to find out? What new information? It's not an experiment.
I suppose the experiment is to see if people use it, but then just firing it up and leaving it is not like, I mean,
yeah, I think I barely knew it existed. I remember when they were shutting down, I was like, oh yeah, I remember hearing something about them.
Yeah,
but it's not.
I didn't even know if their instance was for employees. It could have been an experiment, or just it's a presence on there that they're self-hosting.
That seemed like for again. Let's put aside. We'll do the criticisms of Mozilla as a corporation and a foundation later. Right? Putting that aside, let's pretend they're just an open, a free software open source company, like a big free software project having a presence on there and just being like, not like our devs have to have a Mozilla.social account, but it's for our devs and it's for promoting Firefox, and if anybody is a fan of Mozilla, they can join the instance. That's cool. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they gave no reason for shutting it down, and the community consensus in the replies and stuff seems to be it was because Fedi was so critical of the AI stuff.
Oh,
which is not
everyone.
That's not confirmed anyway, but it seems plausible that they were just like, well, fuck this place. If everybody on this place hates us and hates what we're doing and hates AI, then we'll just get out of here.
See, that actually kind of, in some ways, is a bit more. It makes a bit of sense. Like, if it's only got a couple of hundred users, maybe it's like closed registrations or something. I don't even know. But with it could easily have been why are they not using that Mozilla.social as their own presence on the internet, right? If they have anything to do with the free and social web, as they say, surely they should maybe not necessarily host an instance, but at least have a presence on their own self-hosted one. But that's
integrate it. I don't know if this would make sense, but integrate it into the browser somehow. Like they seem to like doing these sidebar-y things now. That's where they're sticking the AI stuff. As I understand it, like have a little. I know there's a very minimal Mastodon client that you can use. I forget what it's called now. I was looking at it the other day, but so it's another website you go to and you sign in with your Mastodon account, and then it's a different interface. It's a different client for Mastodon. And it's very minimal. And somebody was saying that would fit nicely in a sidebar. So integrate Mastodon into that. I mean, I wouldn't want that, but that would be a more interesting direction for them to go in, as far as I'm concerned. Than like AI or Pocket or all the stupid shit they do.
It's hard to watch, and you're seeing them just hurt themselves. It's the meme of the horses sticking the stick in the spokes of their.
I mean, I see the logic because they're. At least as they're presenting it, like their AI is more like because they're on the side that says like AI might be a good thing, a useful tool, but it should be self-hosted. Like people should have their own model running. It shouldn't be remote. It shouldn't be in the cloud. So their plan was to have a local language model running, and that provides all your AI answers. You're not going to the cloud for it, and that is a healthier version of AI. Like that kind of Mozilla being good, but. I think they're always it's the same with Canonical when they do stuff with Ubuntu. They just seem to be like 6 months behind the curve.
Yeah, that's the irritating thing.
Now we're at the point where everybody's pretty much decided that like this kind of AI, the language model chatbot type AI stuff is not a good for multiple reasons. The cannibalization of people's creativity is one thing. The reduction of everything to content, the slop. Is another thing, and of course the power use, which is huge.
Yeah, because of course Microsoft are now firing up a new nuclear power station to power the AI stuff.
That's dystopia shit for something we don't need. Is of arguable benefit at best.
It's that's why the AI bubble is kind of bursting, because a lot of the companies that put the money into it have not seen any kind of like widespread benefit, because the thing is, it's you can't trust anything that comes out of AI, and I don't know if you ever will. Like it can give you something and then you can check it, but I don't think you could ever, like, I don't know. I'd be interested to say maybe, well, not in real life, like hypothetically, read a book written by AI and see where the worst bit is in a whole book. Like where it trips over itself the most. Yeah. I wonder if there'd be plot holes. There probably would. Do you think there'd be plot holes? Probably.
I think there'd be plot. The thing is, I mean, this is the very sort of like, it's not literally the first generation. It's gone through some iterations, but we are, this is what's the word? Like, this is the forefront. Like, this is a new thing. Yeah. This kind of AI, really. And we can train it to be better. You could probably, given 5 years, you could probably train a language model to write a novel that wouldn't have plot holes, that wouldn't have those kind of telltale signs of being AI. But even then, I mean, we kind of talked about this before, but even then, what is the benefit? This is a trope, a commonly repeated thing on Fedi in particular. But like the point of automation should be automate the mundane things that are boring for people to do, not automate the our creative things that we enjoy.
Yeah, but also one of the things about jobs and hiring people, for a lot of jobs that require people to do them, that requirement is either like is a responsibility, and a computer can't ever be responsible, right? So there is only like a limited amount of use it will ever get out of it, because someone will still need to take responsibility for it, fundamentally operate it, as it were. I think there could be some great uses for AI theoretically. Like, it would be interesting to see how maybe an independent film studio might be able to use AI to get like Hollywood style special effects and see where that throws.
Yeah. And also, I mean, I know people are very like illustrators in particular are worried that it's going to take away their work. If people can just use an AI to generate images, but it's at the same time, again, somebody writing their own. I don't know, they're doing some kind of project where they need, making an RPG or something, and they could not possibly afford to hire an illustrator, but you can get something almost as good from an AI. So it lowers the bar of entry to creative endeavors, and I think that's a good thing. The fact that illustrators are potentially, first of all, I don't think illustrators are going to. Well, maybe I think it's going to be more at the bottom end, where people who couldn't have afforded illustrators anyway are just going to use this stuff. I don't think it's going to be people who can afford illustration are still going to want quality illustration for the most part. I would think. I might be wrong, but even then, even if it takes the work, off of illustrators, that's a problem with that's the problem with how we pay people for work. That's not a problem with AI as such. Like if this stuff does have uses, then we shouldn't sort of blanket rule it out. But what we've got at the moment, from what I can tell, it's only the only thing it's good at, and even then you have to check it, like you say, is summarizing. I think it's quite good at summarizing. But then even that use, that's a use that sort of plays into a very capitalist notion of us as like productive unit. It's not. I don't like if I'm thinking like, oh, I'd love to read that novel, but I don't really have the time. I don't want a summary of the novel. I want the time to read the novel.
Yeah. Well, this is interesting. This actually adds a few layers into it, right? Because when we're doing our Expanse podcast, I watched the episode twice. The first time I watched it, enjoyed it, soaked it up as your sort of intended, as it were. And then the second time I watched it on 1.5 speed with subtitles on, checking to see if I follow through, to see what I understand, see what I don't. And I would never watch something I enjoy, particularly for a first time. If I want to enjoy something, I'll play it at the speed that it's intended. So like, even if it's a TV show or something like that, there have occasionally podcasts I will put on 1.5, very rarely 2, because in a conversational tone like this, people speak a lot slower than they would do on scripted television. So it after 1.5, and I'll be interested to know if anyone else does this. And if you find, listening at home, find these podcasts too long, try 1.5. Because after a while with the 1.5, it sounds normal. Your ears sort of adjust to it. 2.0, 2 times speed, I think is a bit fast, at least for me, for it to not always be like noticeable. But if I need to watch something that I don't particularly enjoy or whatever, and I can follow it at 1.5. In fact, one thing I have noticed, thanks to my stupid short attention span, is that watching things at 1.5 often keeps me hooked in a bit more effectively.
Oh yeah, no, I can see that being the case. Yeah, on the contrary, I never put things on anything but 1 speed, and it comes from something we've talked about before. To me, it's why I don't mod games. It's the same reason. I know this is bullshit. I know this doesn't make any actual sense, but I want the authored experience. And watching
that does make sense. No, yeah. Like,
it's not rational. Like, it's not. But I've got a friend, Danny. And we listen to audiobooks together sometimes, and she's like, if she had to listen to things on 1 speed, she would just get bored and wander off. So she always listens to things on about 1.5, sometimes 2 speed. She's trying to get through as many books as possible, as quickly as possible, and also not get bored while listening to them. So when we're listening together, it's on 1.5 speed, and I'm fine with it. Like I say, there's a little period of adjustment, but then it sounds normal. And some of the books, honestly, they're read so slowly that 2 speed actually sounds.
They are, aren't they? Yeah.
So I don't have anything like sort of like morally against it, but for myself, I'm like, it's disrespectful to the author. Even when I'm just listening to some like what weird, like some ad hoc fucking off the cuff podcast. I'm still I've got to respect the artist's integrity. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, but like this. I mean, are we going to fall back into like low art and high art now? Like, because I think this might actually be where the difference is. Because like with podcasting, podcasting's like it's non-fiction, right? Like to me, I guess non-fiction.
See, this is where I'm going to argue against myself. What I was saying last time, because there isn't really a distinction between high art and low art. Like not in really a postmodern way, but. I think I mentioned something to you. Did I mention this, or did I intend to mention this? There was stop me if I've talked about this when we've been recording before, but so I like Star Trek, right? I think I did bring it up last time. I like Star Trek, and in Star Trek, the characters, because they're post-capitalist, they don't need to work for survival. They get all their basic needs met, and they basically live a luxury life for free, what we consider a luxury life for free. So their time is spent, in creative endeavors and learning and stuff like that. They put on plays and they paint paintings. And there was a post on Fedi saying like it always used to, and I shared this. It always used to bother them that like they would do paintings, but they're always very mediocre paintings. Like they were kind of like, you know, Sunday afternoon watercolorist paintings. They were kind of very amateurish.
Yeah.
And I'd always sort of sneered at that, like if you've got, you know, all the free time in the world, like do something a bit more challenging. Like you should be pushing the boundaries of art, not just like doing like nice landscapes or whatever, and putting on Shakespeare plays in a very, you know, standard way. But so yeah, there was this post saying, no, the whole point is that like when capitalism doesn't exist, that striving doesn't exist, that competitive like spirit doesn't exist. The point is they are doing these things amateurly just for their own enjoyment. Doesn't matter whether it's good or not. You know, you can be a shit painter if you enjoy it. That's the fucking point. And there's something beautiful in that, and that, you know, that we've talked about before. That's the kind of YouTube channel I like. Is just somebody doing it because they love it. And I enjoy the amateurishness because it there's an honesty and an integrity to it. I know I'm not being, you know,
I think
manipulated.
That's like it feels a little bit like it follows the path of some artists where they start off with very intricate, detailed, technically good stuff, and then they start going into like cubism and postmodernism.
Oh, there's the famous I'm gonna mangle this. The famous Picasso quote where it's something like at the age of 14 I could paint like an old master. It took me the whole of my life to learn how to paint like a child.
Yeah.
And there's something to that, yeah.
I fail to see in a lot of cases how, like, because society fetishizes competition, and I often fail to see how this actually is the best way of like building up society in general, right? Like it seems that everything is competitive. Like, you know, you got not only sports, but sports take up such a big part of our culture, so much money, but also everything from like politics to business. Everything's a conflict, everything's a battlefield, everything's a competition. And I kind of feel like there's got to be like another way. Like the best to achieve the best things that we can as a society, as human beings. Surely it's not in spite of each other, but surely to be lifted up by each other, right? Like that's
It can't be a zero-sum game. Like it's got to be a case of, you know, like cooperative. You know, we both benefit kind of. So I mean, in human history, that does, you know, for the big things. I mean, it's trite to say, but you know, imagine if licensing has existed when, you know, language was invented, and you know, like only one culture could have language and nobody else.
Yeah. You know how countries all struggle to pay for the Olympics, or like how it becomes such an expensive endeavor, and how the Olympic Committee are finding it more and more difficult to find countries willing to put up the Olympic. Like it could be the case that everyone in the world comes together and builds a standing Olympic village in Greece, and we could have that as like a central, you know, like monument to us to a coming together, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, sometimes when the Olympics is on, and you know, there's all this fuss about, you know, this country doesn't want it because they can't afford it, and this, you know, I've looked into whether it is actually just economically, whether it's a net cost or a net earner, and nobody seems to be quite sure. Like, there's contradictory. It doesn't. Yeah, nobody's quite sure, because if it is an earner, it's going to be a lot of knock-on things, right? It's not going to be like, you know, you make that much money as the Olympics is on it. Yeah.
I probably
the fact that we even look at it that way is kind of sad, right? I don't remember. I don't look at it like that in the past. So, you know, it was we've become very sort of penny pinching and this whole mentality of being a productive. Everybody's got to be productive. Everything's got to have an economic benefit. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Everything's got to have an economic benefit, or what's the point?
Yeah, and actually, you bringing this back down to Mastodon, I heard a lot of people saying that when, like with Mastodon, like if you can't become an influencer on it, if you can't be famous, then what's the point? And I think to be honest, I think the Fediverse actually does kind of sort of represent that part of us. You know, that part of that's what part of people of like the enjoyment of doing something in the face of these expectations and of
I think Fedi just straight up comparing Fedi to Twitter or something. Like, I think the lack of an algorithm, like you very quickly on Fedi realize, I don't want to follow too many people, and I don't want too many people following me. There's a reasonable number. There's something you've talked about before. there's a reasonable number of people I can talk to at the same time, and actually have a conversation, as opposed to
Yeah, because I follow a lot of people, like 4,000 or 5,000, but I have a list of VIPs, of which you are one, and there is a list of people who I want to make sure that if they post a status, that I catch it. They're sort of, usually like friends, as it were, or people I find particularly interesting.
You have an actual relationship with.
But I mean, it's a hangover from back in the days when Mastodon or when the Fediverse was tiny, and like you'd almost follow anyone that was posting. Like
they follow, you follow back. Yeah.
And but now I don't know. I kind of feel like the Fedi in many ways. Like there's a part of me that thinks that corporations and big organizations and stuff not really taking an interest in the Fedi. I kind of feel a bit relieved, actually, all things considered. Like the UN. Not the UN, the EU, they decided to stop their Mastodon project. I'm pretty sure there have been quite a few other similar projects over time. The BBC, they decided to roll back their Fediverse project.
I think it just doesn't. I think same with Mozilla probably. I think they just can't fit it into their corporate logic because it doesn't have a place there. Because it's explicitly designed not to.
Yeah, and do you know what?
Which I think means that they're kind of behind the times. I think.
I'm not sure. I have a lot of like almost conflicting opinions on this because it's like if Fediverse is like the community center of the internet, like the village hall of the internet, as it were, where it's like it's just a bunch of bumbling techies just doing their thing. And I mean, I don't want to cast the whole Fediverse as all of that. Like it's all a bunch of it's alternative. Is like it's an alternative place, but like it maybe places like. Well, I was going to say Threads or Blue Sky or whatever might be a better place for the BBC because of the corporate matchup.
Yeah, I'd rather. I mean, come up a lot. I'd rather the corporations not be on Fedi. I don't want the news services on Fedi. I don't want celebrities on Fedi. I want it to be a place that is free from all of the things that are really conditioned by capitalism. In a very straightforward and extreme way, like the notion of a celebrity. There's that fuss. What's her name? Taylor Swift endorsing Kamala, right? And that was somehow news for like 5 fucking days. I know this is almost like a teenager thing to say, but we shouldn't care what a celebrity thinks about politics.
No,
or at least we shouldn't care what a celebrity thinks about politics any more than we should care what anybody thinks about politics.
I think this is a bit of a media thing. I don't think celebrity endorsements actually move the needle that much. I think it's more. I mean, I don't even know if Taylor Swift cares or whatever. But like, I think the media like having Taylor Swift in headlines, and I think that's why it's made the.
The thing's, I don't see why we should care what this billionaire. Like, she seems like a decent person, and her music is not my kind of music, but she seems to care about her music and care about what she does, and she has integrity. I think seems to be a decent person, but I still don't care what she thinks about politics. And there's stuff about she flies all over the place in a private jet and pollutes the shit out of everything, and I don't get why we should care. We explicitly shouldn't care what millionaires and billionaires think about politics because their interests are not aligned with our interests.
No, well, certainly not billionaires. Like, yeah, no, I see. I always try and guess, right? In California, all the tech bros, which way do they vote? Because for the longest time, I thought they leant Democrat, and I don't know if it's changed or things are coming out of the woodwork or whatever. But it definitely seems like the big money people in like Silicon Valley and that kind of place, they're less. They don't seem to. They're not backing Kamala as much as you'd think. Or as much as I used to.
Yeah, I think it's become more acceptable to become. Well, I mean, it's, things are more polarized, which is becoming, a cliche at this point. But it's true. I think it's more acceptable. I think tech bros, if you take the whole of tech bros as a soup, they'll probably still lean more Democrat. I think, but there's nothing between the Democrats and the Republicans anyway, and they certainly, the ones with actual money, they certainly donate to both parties, which matters more really than which one they personally want to. This is getting a bit too tag off.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, it's a money issue. It's a money in politics. The thing is, we have this problem to a lesser degree in the UK, but like, yeah, like politics and money should be like worlds apart as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And I think most people probably agree with that, really, you know.
But getting back to the art stuff, so before I was saying like fine art is a very distinct thing. It's its own thing. It's doing a very specific thing. It's like research science versus, you know, being like a materials engineer or something. You know, they're pushing the boundaries. Now I'm going to contradict that and say that distinction is complete bullshit. It's all art is the same. All creativity is the same. It's just play. It's just playing, and we should take all these like sort of capitalist, elitist, bourgeois readings out of it and just like celebrate like amateur creativity.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, I think we said it possibly in one of the earlier freebooters about like the idea of comparing like something from Greg's versus a cake from Village Fake. Which, I mean, I personally like the Village Fake cakes. I can't eat them so much anymore because of vegan, you know, like, so.
Okay, butter and eggs.
Yeah, see, that's kind of, so I do kind of have to like, I don't know, like, to be fair, there are some great vegan bakeries out there. There's Alex Gooch, who is very expensive, but like, well, around, the thing is, it's a small chain of Welsh bakeries along, I think, like the south of Wales. So like, the recommendation is useless to most people watching this. But if you ever get a chance, Alex Gooch, good bakery. But expensive, like really expensive.
About the art thing again. So I watched. I tutored this, but nobody cares. You know, we've all seen those videos, I'm sure, of like laughing at state flags, U.S. state flags. Basically.
Oh yes, that's
right. So they're all, you know, they've all got these very sort of again amateurish from the 1800s, usually 1700s, 1800s, like a blue background with like a coat of arms, not a coat of arms, but a crest or a medallion or a seal of some sort on, and they look to our trained modern bourgeois design eyes. They look kind of silly and crude and a bit naive.
Yeah.
So there's these videos, then TED Talks and stuff, sort of criticizing state flags and saying, oh, these all look stupid and old and rubbish, and we should replace them with something, you know, that basically adheres to, you know, modernist bourgeois design ideals. And those videos are very popular. And I watched a video the other day making the contrary case. It was somebody on YouTube called Pre-Modernist. I like his videos, does good videos. And he was sort of going through the making the case that I just kind of made about like we should celebrate these were made by real people and they had real meaning. You know, they have symbolism in them that has actual meaning to people, and they come from real circumstances. Yeah, and a lot of the flags. Most of the ones with a blue background and then some kind of seal on them, they go back to the Civil War. And somebody summed it up in a comment, saying like, you know, I can't remember what the wording was, but it was like loser modern design flag versus, you know, this flag that literally killed slavers. But the point is they've got a history to them, and you know, actual people in actual circumstances design these things, and like sneering at them because they don't adhere to modernist design thingies is a lot missing the point.
Yeah. So I just popped up the Montana flag there. Now, apart from the word Montana, there's a lot of flags that do kind of have that navy field with a seal, a crest, a badge, or something in the middle. So I know exactly what you mean, and I watched the video.
The Montana, I learned this from the video, though, actually. Montana isn't actually one of those. It's just kind of mimicking them, because Montana didn't actually exist, or at least I think it wasn't, like, it was partly incorporated territory. But yeah, so that is actually a modern one that's copying the style of the other northern ones. But nonetheless, it's still...
What's an example of
like Virginia or something?
Virginia, that's the one.
Also, yeah, I do agree that writing the name of the place on the flag is a bit silly.
Well, see, this is where the video, I don't know, this might be one of those videos that might have like, I don't know if it changed my mind, but it certainly gave me a hell of a lot to think about. It's definitely given me, so I don't know. So I'll just put Virginia up as another example. And it kind of got me thinking, the first question I had walking away from that video that you sent me was...
Oh, did you watch it? You watched it?
Yeah, I watched it. It was, really nice, good video. Nice. Really enjoyed it. It was, and I do follow, I follow CGP Grey as well, so I knew the references that he was making. And the first question I had walking away from that video was, what's the purpose of a flag? Because, like, I get all the history and the stuff, and that's kind of important, right? But what's the use case of a flag?
Well, Americans. Oh, this is gonna get. Yeah. So Americans seem to like flags more than we do, right? They attach more importance to them. They attach a lot of importance to their national flag. I know a lot of Americans would be deeply offended if you set fire to the American flag. It comes up as a political issue sometimes. Whereas I think most Brits, certainly Brits who feel that way, but most Brits, like if somebody set fire to the Union Jack, I don't give a shit. I imagine like French and Italian people probably feel more like we're not. There's such a. I mean, America has this, recent revolutionary history, and then the Civil War, and that's why flags became an important military thing, and they became important in their culture. That's the reason for it. It's not just because they're idiots, but then that infects stuff like queer movements. Having the gay pride flag, and then we've got a million flags. The bisexual flag, the lesbian flag. We've got all these flags.
Also, the history of the rainbow flag is quite interesting too. It used to have hot pink in it.
Yeah. But these flags, it's the choice to use a flag. Like as sort of leftists, we generally, we don't really very much like nation states. We don't like borders. We don't like boundaries. We don't like dividing people up. And flags are, to me, I see flags as part of that process.
Yeah.
So attaching a flag to something that's supposed to be progressive, using a flag to symbolize it is always, I'm not saying we shouldn't use it. I'm not shitting on them. But it's a complicated thing.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, I feel like I know it's unavoidable, but the sense of national identity always makes me feel a bit odd, because it's like obviously you're going to have an identity based on where you come from. That's basically what your identity is, right? But like the whole idea of like being like proud of where you're from because you happen to be from there and all that, like
as soon as you define it and contain it, it's exclusive. It's exclusionary.
Yeah,
and I think
by
like a queer campaign or something would say no, well, queer is included. Of course, the concept of queerness is inclusive. Anybody can be queer, sort of. But I do think using a flag, as soon as you symbolize things in that particular way that has that historical context, for me that does feel exclusive and exclusionary. I'm not saying the queer flag is that, but
the queer flag is interesting because it's, well, first of all, not a nation, but also it's a statement. So, for example, like some people will say that, like, if you're like an ally or something, you should be flying the pride flag to let other queer people know they're safe with you, for example. So that flag,
even the ally language, I think that's part of the same coherent sort of rationalization of how this stuff works. Like I don't consider myself an ally. Because ally, the way it's used in these kind of IDPOL context implies that those are the ones with the interests in fighting, and we are just well-meaning people who want to help out. But that's not how I see it. We're all fighting the same fight.
Yeah.
We all have this same shared interest. We're not different groups with different interests working together. We have the same shared interest, which the peculiarities and details of which differ. But I'm not an ally. I'm an accomplice. So, but again, I understand why people who have been shit on, they want symbols as a way of coming together. I understand that, of course. I'm not shitting on any of this. I'm not saying people shouldn't use the pride flag or looking down on anybody who does. These symbols are important, but the choice of the flag format in particular, I do find a little bit unsettling. And
what do you mean by the flag format?
Sorry?
What do you mean by the flag format?
Well, it is like a national. It's a flag. Literally a flag. It's like a national flag, a thing that represents a national state, which is an inherently exclusive and usually combative thing that conquers other states and has hostile relationships and blah blah blah. And I think that's because it was an American thing. I think that's why everything in America has to be represented by a flag. I'm not shitting on the queer movement whatsoever. If it seems that way, I'm not at all. There comes a point where, you're coming together in safety is good, but then also recognizing, we have a lot in common. We've got shared interests. The point is we're working together in this, not that we're all going into our own little.
But isn't that the beauty of the rainbow flag? Because everyone's under the rainbow. Do you know what I mean?
I'm on board with that. Yeah.
So it's a rebellious flag in that sense. It
is. Yeah. And its history, it came from a proud and honourable history and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, what I was thinking is like, so the purpose of a flag Now, there are lots of purposes of a flag.
Also, I recognise the irony of having a Soviet flag behind me.
So so when one of the uses of a flag, I'm just going to give a random example because there are millions of uses of a flag, is when you're selecting your language for like a website or something, right?
Yeah.
And you have a selection of international symbols for each country that is languageless, that is wordless, and that is really good. That not everyone needs to know every flag, but most people are going to need to know the flags of the countries of the language.
How do you feel when to choose English you have to choose the American flag, or a Mexican person has to choose the Spanish flag, or vice versa, or because those flags don't represent languages.
Well, no, because Brazilian Spanish and Spanish are different.
Well, Brazilian's Portuguese, but Mexican Spanish.
Sorry, Argentinian Spanish.
They're mutually intelligible. Like they can understand. They are different, of course, got different vocabulary and stuff. But they're mutually intelligible. They are variants of the same language.
Yeah,
but no. How do you feel when you have to choose the American flag?
I think that the website designer is lazy and has only done English for both. That being said, there's not really much of. I don't mind, to be honest. I don't care. It's fine. Yeah, I'll take.
There's not a little flash of irritation.
Well, the fact that it's called English and you're like it would make sense.
That's when I become a nationalist. That's when I'm like, no, it's English. The default English is called English. It's not called UK English. It's not called British English. It's English. And that's when I get all.
But then if they start spelling colour without a U,
then it is American English. Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah. I don't think it really matters. But none of that. That's all completely technical.
The point with that is just that a national flag isn't a symbol of a language; it's a symbol of a country, and even using national flags as symbols of countries carries the very mild implication that, like, if you're British and you don't speak English, you're not really British. It's not. I'm not saying it's explicitly saying. It's in that direction.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think so. If the like, I can see, like, okay, so for example, in the case of, well, I don't know, like this is where like the nuances of language come in, because for Welsh, for example, obviously, if you want to select the Welsh language logo, you click on the Welsh flag. However, the vast majority of people in Wales still speak English, so I don't think there's any no one's offended, or no one thinks it's necessarily wrong that you select the Welsh flag for the Welsh language, and even in that context, selecting the English flag for the English language is fine too. So, I guess it's not a cut and dry kind of thing, but as long as people understand it, it's understandable. That I guess is the point I'm trying to come across, is that, like, yeah, it might not necessarily be super.
It has implications.
It
implies that languages are mapped to countries one-to-one, and it also implies that languages, a language belongs to one country only.
Except we click on American flag, so.
Well, that's when it's sort of being self-contradictory, right?
Well, it's only a function, so it's just like it's.
One day, like, we should have symbols for languages, or even better, just use the words.
But then, in which language do you use the words, right?
Well, you use when you're choosing your language. I mean, it's usually this way in video games. When you're choosing your language, each language is written in that language's language.
So, yeah.
Like Mandarin Chinese will be written in Chinese, and English will be written in English, and then you can always find your own language.
Yeah. That's the only way to do
it. Literally happened today, where I mentioned I was playing Moon Hunters with Danny. She just pressed some buttons and accidentally switched it to Chinese, and she was like, "How do I switch it back?" Yeah, but use words.
What you can do in HTML is, if you have a paragraph in a different language, you can tag that paragraph in that language. So lang equals da da da. I wonder how that works. I'm sure I've used that. Yeah, no, I have used that before because of Welsh translation stuff. It's like you got to, but I've never seen that used in a use case, as in, like,
I think we don't notice it as English speakers, because we, like, most of the web is in American English. Our browsers, if we've got a computer set up right, send English GB as the language that we want, But then what the server returns is probably any variant of English. But like if you're a Spanish speaker or something, you probably encounter this a lot, I would imagine.
Yeah. Well, I'd be interested to hear.
I'm
from
not really
Paul
sure
on
what
that.
that does.
But so you would disagree with the premise of using flags as national identifiers anyway?
Not that. Also, I just want to say, like, if you're going to use a flag for English, shouldn't it be the English flag rather than the British flag?
Yeah. Maybe, yeah.
But then the English
I
flag has become this, because of how it's used now. The English flag, I find the English flag distasteful now, which is a shame.
That's just
it's become a right-wing nationalist symbol.
That's the association. I know what you mean, but like it is just.
But it's also
a symbol. Yeah,
and this really pisses me off. I find because the British flag, the Union Jack, not the Union flag, it's the Union Jack. It's not a Jack, but it's called the Union Jack. That's his fucking name. It's a very ugly flag. Whereas I think the St. George's Cross is quite an attractive flag. So I wish, can the racists use the uglier one and we can... But then you're not English, you're Welsh. Your flag is great.
It's all right. It sounds a bit silly, but the white at the top is mildly irritating because it doesn't frame itself like a nice square.
I see what you mean on the background or whatever.
Yeah, like the Polish flag or something like that.
I'm sorry, though, I keep interrupting you. I'm sorry. What you were saying, flags being attached to nations, I think.
Okay, yeah. So what about as a simpler version? So do you disagree with that premise as flags being used as identifiers for nations?
I mean, that's what they are, but I don't like nations. Like, I feel like, I think this is something that, like, the left has always been, ultimately, and anti-borders, anti-national, pro-pan-national, pro-coming together, and we want to get rid of borders, blah, blah. These are all artificial constructs of politics that we should be, at least, aiming towards getting away from. And, the Labour Party recently certainly absolutely turned their backs on that, right?
Yeah.
And
also, by the way,
well,
yeah, I just want to like reiterate for the audience that when we say that we want, like, when we distaste, like, or when we're not necessarily too fond of nations, borders, etc., we're not saying get rid of all the borders now. Let everyone. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no. We have to bring everybody up to the same level, and then It's a process. But and I'm not against, like, I think it's sad that flags have become attached to these political, bound regions that contain and exclude. Like, if we got rid of borders and people wanted to have the English flag to show that like, this is the land that I'm from. I like this land. I like the terrain. I like the landscape. I like the people. I like the food. Like whatever. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with liking where you are from and being in that sense proud of where you're from. But that, to me, that would extend to a Bangladeshi who arrived as an immigrant today. They're just as English as I am, and they have just as much ownership over that as I do. And somebody who doesn't even live here, somebody just likes, like I like Byzantium. I've got an interest. I feel some kind of connection to Byzantium. So if I wanted to show that, that's how flags should be. I think not an exclusionary.
Yeah. I mean, but we do that sometimes, right? Don't we? I mean, I know we're thinking of the worst of it now with the far right stuff. But when I go down, like by the allotments near where I live, like, all the old men have all kinds of flags up. It's
like, what kind of flags?
Yeah. Well, my dad had the Venetian flag up, but I've seen.
Why is a Venetian flag?
He likes Venice. No other reason.
So I like Byzantium. So I hate Venice. Venice fucked Byzantium over.
Oh, yeah,
they were the ones who caused the fall of Byzantium. So me and your dad were enemies now. I'm gonna dig up his allotment and salt the.
Does Byzantine have a flag?
I think there are. I mean, there were pre that. Like, ancient countries didn't have flags as such, but there were banners and emblems that were associated with them. So
that's where the Welsh flag came from. The Welsh, was the Henry VII, the Welsh bastard or something they called him.
Yeah. What's their broad family? What's their broad for Tudor? What was the name for the? It was they ruled the sort of northwest part of, like, that. There was that sort of
the Rose
region. Don't worry about it. I can't remember what I'm trying to.
All right. But yeah. So anyway, yeah. The So I guess so. now there's a distinction between state flags and nation flags here as well, right? Because like ships come into this a little bit, I think, right? But with those seal on a blue background, you couldn't select out of a menu of those, right? Like it couldn't be a drop down menu.
Why not?
Because they would all look too similar.
That's his point in the video, right? They are all recognizable at a glance if you're as used to, because like Germany, Belgium, what's the other? There's a few that are like black, yellow, red, right? In different.
Netherlands, Belgium,
Netherlands, France. Like there are a bunch of flags that have the same colours in different. Oh, and all, of course, like you mentioned in the video, all the Scandinavian flags having the.
Oh yeah. All like so you got UK, France, Belgium. Yeah, it's the red, white, and blue tricolours. Yeah.
Netherlands. So unless you have learned like which is which in those cases, that's the only way you know at a glance which is which. And he's saying it's the same with the state flags. You know that this one has 2 human supports, therefore it is Virginia, and this one has 2 deer or whatever, so it's whatever that one is. And I think that's just because we're not familiar with them. I think that's what that is.
Possibly, but like if you scale them down, I mean, I'm talking about a hypothetical case where you've got like a language with flags. Yeah. You scale them down to a postage stamp size, and
I still think there's enough to think.
Like with Montana or something. No, I don't even know if Montana. Like you can do it. You can do it with the United States flag,
pins, right? You talked about pins, which is in terms of resolution probably about the same as the smallest you're going to use it in the context with. Well, and I think there's still, if you're used to looking at them, it's like the seal on this one is this shape. This one's got these supports. This one's got a scroll underneath it. I think you would know what those differentiators are even at that size. I think. I get your point, of course. Yeah, something that is solid. 3 colors or whatever is more.
And I'm only saying that on a functional point of view, right? Like I'm not throwing in any personal opinions on that.
Well, again, as he says in the video, should that one particular niche use be the thing that defines the design parameters of the thing when that's not its main use?
Well, that's the key question of flags.
Which comes back to the Freddy logo as well, actually.
Yeah, but with flags, right? Like it's like. But what are they? Like, are flags now just like a collective national piece of art? I was thinking when he was doing the video, right? He was showing the flag of, I think it was Milwaukee.
I love that. I love them.
And it's like I used to think Milwaukee flag was a silly flag, but actually, like I don't know, I'm kind of getting on board with it. Let me just.
I love it. It's like somebody just threw some clip art together.
It's
fucking charming. Oh, you've put it in already.
Yeah. And actually, on that note, when the letters are integrated with the graphics, I don't mind it as much at all. It's when you got it stamped in fucking Helvetica. That's what.
Yeah.
That's what that is. It's literally Helvetica. Like,
at
least, Milwaukee is a bit more a part of the overall design.
It would be so nice if every state had or every whatever that has a flag they're all a bit more individual, a bit more like we made this, we're proud of it. This is what we like. It might not be what you like, but this is what we like. So we're happy. Yeah. Not the whole world has to have the same bourgeois, modernist, ideas of what looks good and what looks bad. Horrible.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it was that video or whether or not it was just like before then, but I think I've definitely come around to the Milwaukee flag, and it looks to me, although I don't know if that Native American gentleman in the top left is appropriate nowadays. I don't know what anyway,
I don't know what
is that. Yeah, but I mean, you can tweak things.
I mean, they're all on some level, even the ones that he was expressing pride of because they fought on the right side in the Civil War, and he was specifically, they were an anti-slave. He's seeing them as an anti-slavery thing, but they're still military flags. Is militarism something they want to celebrate as part of our identity? That's questionable for me.
It is, but I think flags have gone, or at least, I think particularly with state flags. I think they've gone beyond militarism. Maybe it's probably close to military history than it is to
But then would you make the same? This is complete devil's advocate, but like, would you make the same case for the Confederate flag? Well, like, we're enough removed from that now that the Confederate flag is just a symbol of Southern pride. Pride in their culture and heritage, and not pride in having fought to maintain slavery.
I think it could have been that way.
Yeah,
but I don't think it is that way because
when I was a kid, the TV show Dukes of Hazzard, right? So in Dukes of Hazzard, they have an orange Dodge Charger, I think it is, and it has the Confederate flag painted on the roof.
Yeah,
and every kid my age at that time had little, toy cars of the General Lee, which is he was a Confederate general. That's the name of the car, and it's got the Confederate flag on the top. We just played with them, we didn't know that this was or would become a racist symbol. It would be nice if it could have become detached from that.
I would say it became a racist symbol because of how it was used and the messaging behind it and the context. And everything.
Yeah, I think you'll be careful with that because obviously when it was what it was historically, it was a racist symbol at that time because it was a symbol of the factions that wanted to preserve slavery. But then it could have been rehabilitated, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. Like because there are lots of things that are rehabilitated, like pirates, and
I think pirates we sort of see as like the less bad guys.
Yeah, but like
you got these, the British, Spanish, Dutch navies going out doing colonialism, and then the pirates doing something else at least. Something. And by all accounts, it was a much more pleasant experience to be on a pirate ship than on British Navy ship in particular.
I'd imagine so. Yeah. But suit jackets, they are of a military design, but we don't even think of them as military. So I don't even know. The thing is, I think military history and national history are kind of.
I think there's a distinction between a purely military history and something that was used for, I don't think either of us would argue that we should have rehabilitated the Nazi flag for Germany. Kept that as the flag because it represented a very particular. These things are fraught, I think, and it's like the argument of do we leave these statues of slavers up and put a plaque on saying this dude was a slaver. When the statue was erected, we were proud of this, and now we think this is fucking disgusting. And leave it there as a monument of. I mean, another thing that comes into it is that those statues aren't old. They were erected as racist symbols in the 19th century. But pretending that wasn't the case, like, should you keep them as a monument of the German never forget? Like, do we erase that history or do we preserve it? And
I mean, statues are a very specific thing because they are fundamentally a tool of celebration. Or you're putting it up, they're on pedestals. They're literally on pedestals. Whereas I don't see statues as being educational really.
No, I don't. Especially because of the time and place, time and sentiment under which they were erected. I'm 100% tear the racist statues down. Yeah, but I do to a point see the argument. Not in
a museum if it matters.
I think the argument in the case of those statues is fraudulent, but in a broader sense, Sorry, what you say?
I mean, if the statues are that important, which most of them are just like Victorian stuff, then stick them in a museum or something. It's like that. They don't have to be there. Do you know what I mean? Like like put something that you're proud of there. Put something nice.
I agree. Yeah,
you wouldn't put something. You wouldn't have it. I say you wouldn't have it in your home. You wouldn't have something that evokes the same sentiment at home, really, would you?
But then there is definitely the sort of statute of limitations on it. There's a time and a historical distance and a sort of sense that we've progressed enough. Because part of the problem with America is it's still extremely fucking racist, and that's why this stuff still hurts. Whereas for us, I mean, 1,000 years ago, we were colonized by the Romans. And it was a brutal occupation, but we still have but we celebrate the remains of the Roman Empire, right? We in Bath and wherever, and this village actually had a Roman fort. And we celebrate them and we're proud of them, but they were a brutal occupation.
Yeah.
But there definitely comes a point at which you are removed enough from it to be able to just say this is part of our fabric.
Yeah, like you can. You have light-hearted comedy shows about life in ancient Rome and stuff, don't you? Like,
You're up Pompeii.
Yeah. So you got like so I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, we've this this flag video anyway. Right. Should we? I'll put the link to the. What's the link? Do you want to put the link? To the
It's a
flag
really
video
great video. Sorry, do you want me to find the link? Yeah.
Yeah, and I did watch it on 1.5 speed because it's a long video.
It's a long video. I like.
And
videos.
he does talk quite slowly in it, but very well.
Yeah.
And also he spoke very clearly, which also makes a difference. If someone doesn't speak clearly, then you got to slow it down a bit.
You also had a bit of, like, if he was contradicting himself or something, there was a bit of wit there, a bit of like, self. What's the word? Self. Aware.
It was a very good presentation style, and I like the comments on the video were quite funny as well. It's like, oh, the beef. This is the YouTube genre I came for.
yeah. I think the top comment something like this is effectively like a 2-hour long, strongly worded letter.
Yeah. So if a flag is a bit of like a see, this is the thing. I see a huge distinction between national flags and state flags. I think they actually.
Sorry. Yeah.
They seem to have very, very, very different purposes, right? So you would fly a flag on a ship so the people would know from what nation that ship comes from.
Yeah.
Which is that some kind of legal thing or a expectation or a so
it's a legal thing because certain ships are allowed to go to certain places and that kind of thing, right? And different countries have different agreements as to
that kind of thing.
Like I know what I'm talking about, something like that.
Yeah. So to me, there seems to be like a much more practical use for them in that particular use instance, almost to the point where you'd think that the maritime sector would have their own system, their own modern.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still referring to, a national flag represents a country, and a country is a political idea that says these people are part of this and everybody else isn't, and we get to decide who can come in. And that's the bit I don't like. And if we got rid of nations, we wouldn't need national flags for ships. Obviously, it wouldn't matter where they came from. But then, like you say, like state flags in America, or like county flags over here, or like for me, like the flag of Mercia, which is a kingdom that hasn't existed for 700 years, that I still feel some attachment to, and I'm like, fuck you, Wessex, you fucked us over. I feel attachment to the Mercia flag for some reason. But yeah, over here, I think like county flags, we see them used in, when the council is doing something. It's like they're nicer, they're a more inclusive, community-ish. Because they're not part of that exclusive political,
Oh, I think I found quite an interesting flag. I think I found the cross of Neath, the battle flag of Llywelyn ap Griffith, and I'm sure I've butchered his name. So is I think I'm looking up the Welsh local flags. This is my favourite Welsh local flag. I'll just put this right because I don't know. Like this is Merionethshire. And it's just like, so these that's an example of our county flag. And I like our county flags. They're kind of fun.
Here's mine. This is Staffordshire county flag.
That's quite nice.
That's the Staffordshire knot, not a pretzel.
The Staffordshire knot. Isn't that just a knot, or is it upside down?
It's called the Staffordshire knot, and there's like a lot of mythology about what it came from, what it's about, and one of them is it was a knot that was designed so that you could hang 3 people at once. Which definitely isn't true.
Were they that hard up on rope back then?
Apparently, yeah.
So it seems like in the UK, county flags are just a bit of fun, really, aren't they? Just a bit of.
We're certainly less. I mean, I think we're less serious about a national flag. We don't really care about. Like, there's definitely people who do, but and our county flags are just it's just something nice to say. Oh, the council's doing something good. Cool. Yeah. Council's having a little book celebration of children's fiction or something. Cool.
Yeah. So I guess you didn't put the video. Did you put the video in the link in the end? The link to the video in
but it's all those flags. Yeah. I should probably say like the who it is and the name of the video. That probably people find it better. So it's on Pre-Modernist on YouTube. It's spelled how you'd expect, and it's in defense of state flags.
Which, but it is definitely a video worth watching because it definitely gave me so much to think about. I didn't agree with everything in it, but it certainly, like, I don't know, made me think about a few things that I'd previously sort of
the really sort of valuable part is because all these snobbish videos about these flags are terrible. They all refer to this one book, right? Which I can't remember what it's called, but it's like How to Design a Good Flag or something. Which is just really, and he nails it. Like they really, and this is a modernist thing. They treat simplicity as a virtue without really ever justifying that.
Yeah.
And that's what it all boils down to, I think. And also the thing, what he was saying, like, because it says there should be no text on a flag. He uses the Iranian flag as an example, a counterexample of that, because the Iranian flag, it's three colors, and then there's the sort of the design in the middle, which is stylized calligraphic rendering of Allah, and then the border between the two, between where the colors meet, is Allah or Akbar over and over again. So it's got a lot of text is a big part of that flag, and it's a beautiful flag.
That is a beautiful flag. It's one of my favorites. And the amazing thing about this flag, that it does, is that it uses red and green without it looking Christmassy.
Yeah.
I like the Alu Akbar. The design in the center. Now, to be honest, I don't know if this is a simple flag or not. So obviously simplicity is like hugely subjective, but like if you took away the writing, I would say that's a relatively minimalist flag.
Yes, I think it's the design in the middle that makes it, by their standards, not minimalist. Not to the extent of, because he uses the Portuguese flag as an example. He says it's one of his favorite flags. I'm ambivalent about the Portuguese flag, but it's an attractive flag. I think modernist, and this is a received thing for a lot of people. But for somebody writing a book about something to do with aesthetics, they should really justify why minimalism / simplicity is a virtue in and of itself, because it isn't actually. It's just a product of a particular way of thinking about design that certainly, the Victorians would not find what we find attractive. They wouldn't find it. They'd find it horrific. Like it's bare, it's.
What was that flag with the carpet design on?
Oh, it was one of the stands, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was it Tajikistan?
That was no, not Tajikistan. It's not Kazakhstan. No. Oh, I'll tell you what, though, Kazakhstan's flag is cool.
Really?
Oh hell yeah! Shit, how did we not know Kazakhstan had such a cool flag?
Turkmenistan.
That's it, Turkmenistan.
Oh,
look at that.
That's great.
How did we not know?
That looks like it's very Game of Thrones. It's very like there's an army coming over there.
Yeah, it is Game of Thrones, isn't it? Yeah, because you've got that like banner type thing in the middle.
Banner.
Shit, that I had no idea. Is that a new flag?
I've never.
I'm sure. Have
what is it? Tajikistan
adopted 32 years ago?
Okay, so fairly modern.
Well, not.
What was the previous flag?
I don't. Flag.
Yeah, far less attractive.
Yeah,
it's like a worse Iranian flag.
Yeah.
So put it in.
I don't know. I don't recognize that flag. The new Iranian flag. No one knows. But it's lovely. Like it's amazing. So no, you were saying. Sorry, was it Turkmen? I mean, the same thing kind of applies to Kazakhstan. That carpet design down the left hand side. Right, I'll try and find a good depiction of it. Because this is an interesting one, because I kind of didn't know what to make of this flag, right? And he makes a really good case for it. So this flag is obviously, like, even though it's intricate, it's recognizable. And it has, he says, is it the 5 patterns down the side represent the 5 different tribes that came together for the nation or something like that?
Yeah, the 5 major tribes or ethnic groups. Oh, yeah.
And the moon and stars, is that an Islam thing?
Yeah. And it is a little bit offensive to modernist sensibilities, right? It's a bit like, that's not what a flag should look like. But I agree with him that I'd rather have uniqueness and individuality. This is where individuality is good, rather than just homogeneity of, know.
I will, however, and I hope this is not problematic, it is slightly Christmassy.
I was literally going to say that. That could be. This is probably going to be incredibly offensive to members of these ethnic groups, but that could be a Christmas cracker. That could be the pattern on a Christmas cracker. I'm sorry to those tribes.
Shameful. But it's, I mean, well, I mean, I like it as a design though. It's a lovely design.
I mean, do you know what? That's probably that is where Christmas cracker designs come from. Actually, it comes from carpet, or at least fabric weaving things from Scandinavia. I think like those kind of patterns. They have a Scandinavian weaving origin.
I like these weaving patterns, and when he was talking about the Turkmenistan nomadic culture, about how like so Turkmenistan tribes back in the day, they would express their art through carpets because they were nomadic. So they weren't going to be hanging up paintings everywhere they go, but they do make everyday use of carpets. So their artistic expression was done through carpets, and I think that's just so cool. That like the how
I thought the South Carolina example you did a good example of I don't like CGP Grey. He's in that category for me of YouTubers / thinkers / writers who just represent bourgeois good taste back to us, and it's very middle of the road, very dull, and because it's that, because it's kind of unthinking, he criticized the South Carolina flag, and he was saying like things should have a historical resonance, and then not researching what the historical resonance was of the things he was criticizing, which is a stupid old. But yeah, I don't like that. I don't like those sneering, snobbish, middle brow. It's middle brow. I hate middle brow. I like low brow. I like high brow. Middle brow.
Middle brow. Is that actually an expression?
Yeah, oh yeah. Not. It's one in response to highbrow and lowbrow, because I think both highbrow stuff and lowbrow stuff are enjoyable. You what? Sorry.
6/10 brow.
Sorry, 6/10. No, I'd say like the epitome of not the epitome, but a good popular example, like Marvel films. They are distinct. They're not highbrow. They're not lowbrow. They are middlebrow, and because of that, they're very they don't do what lowbrow does well. They don't do what highbrow does well. They just end up doing nothing at all. It's just aesthetic slop.
Okay.
It's like AI output.
What's low? What would you say is lowbrow? Just would you say like cockfighting, or?
I mean, cockfighting is certainly lowbrow, but I wouldn't find it. I don't think of an example of something lowbrow that I enjoy. I mean, okay, go on.
Well, this no, or like no.
This is amateurish highbrow.
Amateurish.
I would say
highbrow.
Me, the movie 2012, or Roland Emmerich movies in general. Like,
I've not seen that.
They're not trying to be clever. They're very fucking dumb. Or The Fast and the Furious. That's lowbrow. And it's exciting and it's fun. It's honest about what it's doing. It's not pretending to be anything more elevated than it is. It is honestly doing what it's doing, and it's doing what it does well.
I'll take your word for it. I've only seen Tokyo Drift when it came out, and
I've only actually seen the first Fast and Furious, but I enjoy it.
I mean, there are like 7 of them now.
A lot.
They can't stop. Yeah. Well, once you've bought the cars, I guess you want to get a few goes out of them or something, right?
But yeah, they're lowbrow. But they're enjoying. There's an honesty to lowbrow. There's an honesty, buckling enough to highbrow. But middlebrow is always pretending it's more elevated than it is, while being just as dumb as the lowbrow stuff. So it's in this very middle class feeling, very bourgeois feeling, very middle of the road, very unchallenging. But
does it feel like gentrification?
Yeah. I think it's just in the same part. It's unchallenging while making you think that you're a bit elevated for watching it. Game of Thrones as well is middlebrow, I would say.
I don't know. I think it contains elements of all sorts.
I think fantasy might be I like fantasy, but I think fantasy might just be inherently middlebrow.
Well, see, the thing in Game of Thrones, right? There are parts of it that are lowbrow, right? Like, a lot of the gratuitous violence, it was obviously there for shock value, for that. And a lot of the sexual violence was there, just to for shock value and stuff like that. And that I would put under the lower brow stuff. But then you've got the higher brow stuff, which is like the more like philosophical stuff, but
it doesn't really do any of it. It intimates and it has the form of that, but without ever actually like what would you say that Game of Thrones is at any point saying about politics, other than the usual sort of liberal boomer take of like authoritarianism is bad, but sometimes it's okay.
So it's like, you got the White Walkers that are representing like the, like a threat of climate change. You've got a lot, like you've got like a little sort of historical buffet of kind of stuff, haven't you? Like
that's what I mean by the form. It's got things that could be read as representing particular things, but it doesn't say anything about any.
See, I'm tempted to I'm going to like exercise restraint on this because like the showrunners and George R. R. Martin kind of, for a lot of the show, I don't think were working particularly well together. So
yeah.
I could maybe take some of the points on the books when it's like George's vision, but Dan and Dave are fucking clueless when it comes to that kind of stuff, and I think they botched a lot of it.
Well, let me counterpose it with shows that I think are highbrow.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the two very obvious ones: Sopranos and Deadwood. Two shows I've watched recently after meaning to for 20 years. So Sopranos is about these awful, horrible fucking people, which is certainly the case in Game of Thrones too. There's some awful people in it, but they're awful people, but you feel affection towards these people and you're rooting for them at certain times. And the point, I mean, the show is also about societal collapse and the collapse of culture and what it feels like to be at the end of something like a civilization or whatever. But it also, it's these horrible people and it makes you feel affection for these horrible people. And then you're like, what does it say about me that it makes me feel affection for these fucking sociopaths who are doing horrific things? And then Deadwood, Western show on the surface, but it's really it's the opposite of that. It's about what does it mean to create a society? What does it mean to imbue things with symbolic meaning that we can all come together and agree on that gives us society and civilization, and how does that affect the people that are building it? What does it do to them? How does it change them? And it's about those things, and I think that's what makes it. I don't think Game of Thrones ever, in tiny way, sure, but like really either did or was really trying to do anything like
that. Well, I would say under a more faithful adaptation, it would do. Because it does.
I've read the book. I don't think the books do it either.
Do you not?
No, I think they represent things. That's a bit like such and such war, or that's climate change, or this is about how the classes relate to each other. But it's not saying. It's just going, look, that looks a bit like this, doesn't it? And that looks a bit like this, but it's not saying anything about any of that. In the same way that Marvel films aren't saying anything about, war is bad. You're not really saying anything.
They're not saying it. I suppose so. I think
I'm not saying all middlebrow things are shit. I do think they all have that homogenizing kind of bourgeois kind of thing going on. But I enjoy some of it.
What's something that's middlebrow that's a bit more indie, like a little less, well known or mainstream?
Less mainstream, but middlebrow.
Like, because we're talking Marvel films, we're talking Game of Thrones. That's all stuff. Like, is middlebrow almost like mainstream? Is middlebrow basically being used as a term for mainstream, or that type of mainstream?
Yeah, but I think it's a fairly recent phenomenon. The extent to which the middlebrow has taken over the mainstream. Yeah, I think, and I think this is to do with a sort of political development. As working class people, because of Thatcher and stuff, working class people started to see themselves as more middle class people and made that transition. And I think it's the media. It's very much like people being beer connoisseurs. They're not. They don't have the sort of the cultural comfort or whatever to allow them to be wine connoisseurs, because that's not the drink of their class that they came from. They came from a working class history. So they take beer, pretend that it's something you can be a connoisseur about, and then feel highbrow while indulging with something lowbrow, which makes it, because of maths, middlebrow.
Because of maths, middlebrow.
And I think it's like I think this middlebrow really expanded when working class people started to sort of think of themselves as being middle class, as Thatcher and
why can you not be a connoisseur about beer, but you can be a connoisseur about wine?
That's going to be contentious, right? I think you potentially can be a connoisseur about anything, but it didn't have a history.
Lemonade.
Well, wine has had a history of that because it was a highbrow thing. It was a thing that the posh people drank, and posh people had enough time to sit around and compare this wine to that wine, whereas beer was something you drank to get pissed. Or, but earlier than that was just the safe thing to drink because water wasn't particularly safe. It never had the history of that. So that highbrow or upper class form is imposed on this working class practice that doesn't have that history or culture.
Yeah. So
essentially, it's people who used to be working class, becoming middle class, and then being ashamed of the work. They can't engage with lowbrow culture anymore because they feel a bit more elevated than that. And that people will see that oh god, they're actually working class. So we sneer at the lowbrow and pretend we're highbrow while engaging with middlebrow.
So what would lowbrow be on telly? Would that be like EastEnders?
Yeah, I think soaps are all inherently lowbrow, but that's different. Like Carry On films,
okay,
which are great, and I would love to see. It's one of the you know how Americans they love Doctor Who, they love these things because they're British and they have this Britishness to them, right? They love Doctor Who, they love Harry Potter, they love even Game of Thrones, even though it was written by it's still a Britishness that they're engaging with. I want the world to discover Carry On films. I think they're wonderful. They're a real expression of Britishness at that time. They're made in the 50s, 70s, so they've got some problematic aspects, but they're distinctly British.
It has been so long since I've seen a Carry On film. They used to be on like ITV on Sundays and stuff.
Oh yeah. They're filler TV, weren't they?
Oh my god! You were talking before the show that we should do podcasts on more TV ones. Maybe we should do them on films.
Do the Carry On films.
Do the Carry On films. Shit.
I'd love that.
How many are there?
Billions.
Oh my god. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I think that could be a film analysis.
31 films.
Fuck. 31 Carry On films.
I think there's one or two that were made in like the 90s, which, and there was the very early ones where they hadn't really, because that Carry On style was something that emerged, right? So the very early ones don't actually feel like Carry On.
That's insane.
They were so pop. This is what I mean. Like they were in the 50s, 60s, 70s when the working class was a thing that had had a class consciousness. They engaged with work. This was working class culture. Not to say that upper class people wouldn't watch them or anything, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. So the latest one is Carry On Columbus at 1992, and the first one was Carry On Sergeant in 1958. Yeah. Hang on, did they still have the same cast?
I think the very early ones and obviously the 90s ones had different casts, but like the whole middle, like the middle probably like 20 had at least 90% the same cast. Yeah. And it was these things were, I think this is interesting as well. I've not done the research to back this up, but I would say because the Carry On films had gay men being overtly gay, like they read as gay, right? They might be playing a heterosexual character. Some of them might be heterosexual actors, but they're certainly portraying. They're intentionally being read as gay, and that was accepted. Might have been overlooked, certain circumstances. And I think you get that in the highbrow as well. It's okay to be, at that time, okay to be gay. Highbrow, okay to be gay. Lowbrow, but middlebrow, can't have the gays there because it's all middle class and
So
the
highest rated one is only 6.8 on IMDb. Carry On at the Tiber.
That's the highest rated one?
Yeah.
The one with people in blackface and shit, I think. That's not the best. That is not the best one.
It's what IMDb says. Not by a huge amount, but
what are the next couple?
The next couple are, well, I noticed that that Carry On Camping was there.
That's good.
Well, that's classic because there's like I'm going to look at the trivia one here because it's like was it like the first time boobs were on TV or something like that?
May well be, yeah.
It's something in that ballpark. It's like Barbara Windsor was like, she's like the first person to have boobs on TV or some sort of similar kind of like.
I do. I remember being in the school playground at age like 7 or whatever, like to watch Carry On Camping. And like, yeah. Did you see the tits? Yeah. Pre-internet as a 7-year-old.
I'd love to know the decision to make that plunge.
I mean, they became, because the very early ones are just sort of gentle comedies, I would say. They're sort of what we would call workplace comedies. And then they did sort of lean into that risque, double entendre kind of humor, like very hard.
The lowest rated one was
The 90s one, Olga?
no, Carry On Emmanuel.
Oh yeah, I don't think they really count that because Emmanuel was a soft porn thing, and so towards the end of when all they really had to lean on when people weren't really watching them anymore was just they were titillating, so they leaned into the soft porn aspect crossover with.
Oh, okay.
I would say the Emmanuel was. Yeah. What's the lowest rated non-Emmanuel one and not the 90s?
Okay, so yeah, the 90s one is the next lowest. Carry On England is that one, and that's from 1976 at 4 stars out of 10.
They did get worse. Yeah, into the later. Yeah.
Do you have a favourite? Oh, Carry On Spider.
I think I have a few. I really like the very not the earliest ones, but the ones where they were just sort of finding their form, and it was a bit gentler with the risque stuff. I like Carry On Cruising. I think there's one on a ship anyway. Mm-hmm. And then I think the peak ones, the ones that are peak Carry On, what we think of when we think of Carry On. Carry On Camping, Carry On Screaming. That one's peak. I've not watched most of it for a very long time, but I rewatched Carry On Camping a couple of weeks ago. I was just thinking the world should know about these. They're fun, and they're very British in a way that I actually enjoy. Whereas I hate the Britishness of, to me, like Doctor Who and like Blue Peter and all that shit. It's very Southern feeling. It's very middle class feeling, and it's very Protestant feeling. And
it's BBC. It's very BBC.
Yeah,
it's that.
Yeah. And as a working class Northern, Midlands Northern Catholic kid, I just felt alienated by that stuff.
I know what the BBC stuff. It kind of irks me a little bit as well. Like it's that. I don't want to say the one that hit me with that BBC middle classy stuff the most was I went to see in the cinema the film about Richard III it was with Alan Partridge, but they put Alan Partridge in as a secondary character just so they'd have a name on the bill. But it was the one where it was the recent film about them digging up the remains of it was Richard III that they dug up in the and one of the things, it was done by Pathé, and it's a documentary. Thing. No, not a documentary. It's like a dramatization. Well, not a drama. Right. It's not hugely dramatic.
Oh, okay. Of the events surrounding the archaeological dig. Where
the discovery, all that kind. I don't know if it was necessary. I don't know how accurate it was, but the thing is, the Pathé, the production company, their sound mixing is so grating to me in ways that it doesn't seem to be to anyone else. Like you were
going to say so great.
No, they were horrible. It was horrible. Like it makes things it makes things. The thing that I particularly irks me about it is that it makes things that are quiet in real life loud for the purposes of atmosphere. So
how do you mean? Like an example?
There'll be like background noises or atmospheric noises, and they'll massively raise the volume.
That's a thing that came out of like indie and stuff. Yeah.
It's like the indie rising to BBC kind of.
Yesterday we watched film called Don't Worry, Darling, which is really a retelling of the Stepford Wives from the 70s. That's a great film, by the way, Stepford Wives. But it's got this like the main character is paranoid and tense. It's trying to communicate tension, so it does that thing of elevating background noise and breathing and stuff like that, elevating it, serve the purpose of making you feel tense, which I think is what that is for, and I think that's when it's correctly.
Yeah, but anyway, So anyway, we've rattled on for a while, haven't we? Consider. I've just like clocked the time. Is there anything we want to talk? Anything else we want to talk about?
Finish what you said. Sorry, finish what you were saying about the sound mix. Richard. That sounds interesting to me. Why didn't you like it?
Because it was jarring. It was just It's like,
was it an over modern presentation? Like an overly? Were they trying too hard? Basically.
Yeah. There's definitely a trying too hardness about it. It's like they're desperately trying to foster a vibe.
I get it. This is culturally elevated, and you should feel culturally elevated for watching it, kind of thing, rather than just like, here's what happened.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's quite subtle, and it's just in the sound mixing, and you see it on a few films, a few TV. You see it a lot on TV programs. I think actually, now that you mention it, I think that it might actually kind of be an indie studio kind of thing, because you see it on a lot of Welsh television too. So
Time Team. distinctly middle brow.
Is Time Team distinctly middle brow?
Yeah, because it's like because you watch it and like you feel clever for watching it, but it's not actually that clever.
Well, they're just digging up remains, right? I mean,
Yeah. But it's like you got these professors from Oxford telling you, oh, this was this historical, but they're not actually doing history. They're just like telling you things. They're not doing anything clever fundamentally. It's got the feeling of being elevated and educational, and the kind of thing that like a middle class family sits down to watch on a Sunday evening kind of thing. But it's not. You're not really learning it. You're learning, if learning dates and facts is history, then yeah, but it's not.
What about watercolor challenge? Is that middle brow?
I would say that's lowbrow. Very enjoyably lowbrow.
Lowbrow?
It's got a very trash feel.
What, watercolor challenge?
Well, I know. The subject matter is a bit elevated, but like it's reality TV. It's scheduled when unemployed people and students are watching TV, which is when I watched it religiously because it was fucking great. But yeah, no, I think it's got some highbrow motifs, but I think it's lowbrow because it's honest.
What about Ready Steady Cook?
So lowbrow, so enjoyably lowbrow.
Yeah, I do like Ready. I did like Ready Steady Cook when it was on. Is it still on?
I don't know. Yeah. It's one of those things that I loved. I loved it back in the day, but I'm only going to watch it now. I had my fill of it.
Yeah, but also a lot of that stuff back then was designed for TV, which doesn't necessarily automatically translate on demand, which I realized when I went to binge The Crystal Maze, which then I realized that actually it's basically the same thing every single fucking week with different people.
We watch something like that and one episode is enough.
Yeah.
Like you say to. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Reality TV, I guess, in general, or, game showy stuff.
Yeah. Cool. All right, should we...
Yeah, wrap up.
Yeah, let's wrap
up.
What the
fuck was this about? What we're going to call it?
Like, it's going to be
mostly flags.
It's mostly flags, but Fediverse stuff at the beginning, I guess. So
we started with Mozilla and then very quickly went into flags.
Wow.
We didn't even say anything about Mozilla.
Oh right, yeah.
Well, I wanted because I've moved back to Firefox, and it is very much despite Mozilla, as somebody put it on Fedi, despite Mozilla rather than because of Mozilla. But I've turned off all the AI stuff, obviously. But anyway. We can discuss.
Is there actually AI stuff in your Firefox?
Well, I immediately when I installed it, I immediately turned it off, so I've not seen it. But yeah, I think it's you can do a summary thing, and Google's put it in now as well. I know Google have got there, but it's in the search results at the top now. So you got to scroll past the AI slop before you can get to even the shitty results as they are now.
Well, I use actually, here's one we could. Is it a tech topic we can finish on? I have been trying out Mojang. Oh no, hang on a minute. No, I think I might have covered this in the previous one. Mojang,
no, we did. Yeah, we talked about yeah.
But now I've switched back to DuckDuckGo because Mojang's image search was not very good at all.
Right.
Really, not usable at all. Its main results like are fine if you know what you're looking for. If you've got an idea. Sometimes like I've Googled like for a recipe or something, and it's not too bad because it's got a lot of like indie sites on it. So it's quite good. So it kind of sits in a weird place of like, if I'm looking for something on that's not on one of the big websites, Mojang's actually quite good at that kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe we're going back to different search engines for different kind of, like if I want to know when an actor was born, I'll go to Google. But if I want to specifically recipe from an indie thing, then
yeah, because I've gone back to DuckDuckGo as my usual one because I don't know if it's because like you learn to speak a language with the search engine where it's like you know terms or you know how to order them, because I find DuckDuckGo works well enough for me, but then I spent years learning the DuckDuckGo sort of lingo and
Yeah, that's honestly, as a casual user of DuckDuckGo, I've tried it now and then. The results are good enough, and as Google results get worse and worse, they're probably going to cross over at some point.
Yeah, but also you don't get the AI at the top. Although, because you say it gives you some things, like it'll give you a dictionary definition or it'll give you a Wikipedia thing. That's all you need, right? Like,
yeah.
It's the fact that like I'm going to be interested to see with all this AI stuff, like what's going to be like the first big catastrophe that it causes. It's caused a few small catastrophes. Like the time when they someone tried to write up a legal brief with ChatGPT.
Oh, Jesus.
They got in big fucking trouble. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but like, that's like the biggest AI disaster I've seen so far. But I don't know. I imagine there's going to be one in the pipeline where AI does something unimaginably.
Unless we all just get used to again, idiocracy. Maybe everybody uses it, and we just used to everything. Everything is like 20% wrong all the time.
But the thing about AI is that it doesn't, like, all of its current uses. But there are obviously, with the language model, it's not too bad at actual language stuff, right? Like, you know, I've asked ChatGPT to read over work and point out grammatical errors, not to change it, but to, like, so, you know, and mark my work and that kind of thing. It is kind of okay for things like summary and stuff like that. It's quite good for, like, menial tasks as well. Like, if you've got a big piece of text and you want to be like, okay, I want to switch every comma with every colon with a comma or something like that. You know, you know, so for such find an automated task like that. It does present an easy solution. But other than those, like, small use cases, like what can you what's the real benefit? Like, I know that they're trying to, like, tout this idea that you may be able to replace workers with them, but if someone needs to be responsible for their work, then you've got the work, but you've got no one or nothing to sign it off, as it were. Like,
I think that will work because, you know, a lot of people, especially sort of office work, a lot of people don't actually do a ton of work, and sort of accuracy. That kind of accuracy, there's certainly jobs where that kind of accuracy doesn't really matter that much, probably. So if you could have, like, you know, 5 people who work 10% of the time replaced by an AI, and then 1 person who oversees it and just checks it, you know, that probably happen. But is it worth? Because it's going to get more expensive because it's using a shit ton of energy. Like, as soon as it's, you know, same as everything, as soon as it's ubiquitous, they'll start actually properly charging for it. And it's probably going to be one of those things like the cloud. You know, everybody went to the cloud because it's cheaper. We can save your organization, you know, thousands, hundreds of thousands or whatever by moving to the cloud. And everybody's in the cloud and everybody's captive, and they raise the prices. And now everybody's going back to, you know, hosting their own, or, you know, companies going back to hosting their own servers and stuff. And I can imagine it being a bit like that. Yeah. Companies might embrace it, and then goes up, and they're like, oh, right, it'd be cheaper to hire people back. And, you know, there's a lot of, like, tech that seems to be tech at the moment. Capture something by, well, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Like, I think at the same time, like, I think it's a bubble. It's already, like,
it does seem to be a
slowing down, and I think it's simply down to the, like, I think it's finding its place, because I don't think it's going to disappear. I've seen uses for it.
But is it going to be, given the sort of energy cost and computing cost and, you know, the costs associated with it, is it going to be worth having it for those very small tasks? Like, if it can't do I was going to say earlier, like, it does. I think, you know, that kind of AI, that kind of neural network, what they call combative models, something like that. It can be very good. As an example I heard years ago, like, you know, like if the government, if public transport was nationally owned and nationally run, you could use it to optimize routes. It could look at things in a way that's, like, far too, you know, informationally dense for a human to do, and it could say, like, if we tweak these buses by this many minutes and these trains by blah blah, everything will just meet up a bit better. Like, optimizing stuff. Like, when do people actually travel versus when, you know, those kinds of problems. It's probably quite good at that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But because those things aren't, you know, centrally, nationally managed or nationally run, we don't have those kind of applications to put it. So it's put to, yeah, you know.
But I've seen like
it could have been a very useful thing.
Yeah, well, I've seen people use it in, like, health research and stuff like that. And I don't know how. It's well beyond my knowledge base to know how. But apparently, like, it can. I don't know. I don't even know if this falls into the language model part of AI or whether or not it's doing something else. But I occasionally hear stories about things like, oh, you know, AI has helped. You know,
it's very good at. I might not put this in, you know, terms that a computer scientist would be happy with, but yes, adversarial neural networks, isn't it? Those are very good at optimizing that have very well-defined constraints. And, like, public transport would be a good example of that. But or like refining sort of design things, you know, more engineering, I guess, things that have very particular constraints, and finding ways of doing that a human wouldn't think of. I think for those kind of things, it does. Yeah, I think it's going to be valuable for that kind of thing.
And you can self-host as well. Like, we can self-host now. There's a thing it's on one of my previous videos, Jan.ai.
But you can't. Yeah, but then you're taking a model and applying it to generate the model. You need super powerful computers that consume a shit ton of energy, but then you can run things through that model on a local Yeah.
Well, the
even on a
model
phone.
has been generated though, isn't it? Well, there
Yeah,
are
yeah.
models. So it, I mean, it does use I think one of the issues with doing it locally is that it requires quite a lot. Like my little B link just fires right up when I'm doing anything. And it's not as good as ChatGPT, because obviously the computer is tiny and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But for the kind of tasks that I'd need it for, it's fine. But
I mean, that's why Mozilla, that does seem to be where Mozilla was going. Yeah, having
yeah.
the model be local.
But I think that the average person day-to-day use of it, nah. Like I think the number of
this was I read a post by somebody who's saying they don't want their work summarized. Either read my work and experience as it was intended, or don't summarize. Essentially that was what they were saying. And I agree with that. I find it a bit insulting to me as a human being with a soul and intelligence and an imagination to say to me that no, you need things summarizing. You don't want to actually experience anything. You just want the fucking bullet points, and that to me that's insulting to humanity a little bit.
I mean, it depends. Yeah, but like, I mean, with art, I get that. But if you're reading a boring document, that
yeah, but I would say the problem's capitalism. The problem is that somebody has a job to do. Like that's a bad job. Don't give people that job.
I mean, does the fact that people need to summarize it is that really a mistake of the author not making it?
Well, yeah, I saw a cartoon. This is a bit of a trope, isn't it? On freebooters, we say cartoons in words, but on one side there's somebody saying, "I sent this email. I just gave ChatGPT a bullet point, and it wrote me a long email based on my bullet point and sent it to this other person." And the second frame was this person saying, "I received this long email, and I just got ChatGPT to summarize it as a bullet point." So
yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. Like,
yeah, that's yeah.
And I'm getting more and more worried that people will start using GPT to basically pad out stuff.
Exactly. Yeah,
I worry that we're gonna I worry that we're entering a world of padding, because one of the hallmarks of ChatGPT is that it adds words into a sentence that it thinks make the sentence.
Yeah, I think a lot of tasks, in university where you're tasked with writing an essay, and rather than the teacher going, the essay is as long as it is. If you're writing about this topic, explore this topic fully, and then the essay is however long it is, they'll go, it's got to be 11 pages or whatever. And I think for some reason that seems to extend into the work world. Like people will pad their own work because they feel like, I don't feel like I've done a proper job if it was only, and then that's like the cartoon. So you got on one hand people padding, and then the other hand is people summarizing. Let's maybe get rid of that problem rather than solve it with AI.
Yeah,
and information availability. If we need more readily digestible information about certain kinds of things in order to function correctly, then make that available rather than
Yeah, but of course that's not the world we live in, and to translate one to other.
Is that in large part because the world is mediated to us by the news media or whatever. If you want, that's where people get, for example, unless they're particularly interested or specialized, like we get our scientific education from the media. It's very bad at that. I don't really know. I forgot my point. So again, getting rid of the need for the this summarization and let's do that better.
Yeah, I did sort of recognize that impulse in myself quite early on, and did decide to realize, actually, if something's short, I'll make it short. Because the thing is, it's like if you write something long, people will read that and maybe remember about 20% of it. But the goal is like just write the 20% that people are going to remember. That's sort of where I go. Is like, and graphics and props and all that help. But yeah, so I sort of put the kibosh on padding stuff out very early on, because in university I used to do a fair amount of padding, and and it was like, most of my lecturers were like, look, if it should be as long as it is, but in reality, I don't know if it was a university thing or an expectations thing or something, but it's like it's 10% either way of the word limit, which I guess doesn't make it a word limit if you can go 10% either way. But, a 10% either way on the word limit of 1,000 words is just like it's a word limit of 1,100.
Yeah, I'd rather again, like, hippy dippy or whatever. But like, I'd rather like if they say no word limit, just write it to the length. And somebody writes one that's far too long, and somebody writes one that's far too short, then the tutor has a word with you and say like, this needed more. Your essay about this should be a bit longer. Your essay should be a bit shorter. That's something that's negotiated rather than.
I think a lot of it depends on like the expectations of detail, right? Like if like, so one of my assignments long ago was talking about the low voter turnout among black people in the American elections, and sort of the whys and wherefores of that. And I could have just said historic racism. I could have done a paragraph.
Yeah.
I could have done 2,000 words on, gerrymandering and voter suppression.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. So I guess that's really what.
Well, again, that's the job of the tutor to, set your calibrate your idea of how much detail is expected. That's
Although to be fair, I think it makes more sense in academia than it does in the real world. In the real world,
yes, yeah.
Things are less hypothetical. So, and to be honest, in the real world, people don't read that much anyway. So shorter is almost always better.
I get a lot of emails from, if I'm doing something procedural, dealing with somebody where we have to exchange information, and everybody feels the need to pad out emails. I'll get, good morning, how are you doing? Blah blah blah, and you don't read that. You skim that and then get to the actual bit with the information that you wanted, right? But then you'll do the same in return. Oh, I hope you're having a good day, and blah blah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think ChatGPT could lead us down this road into padding. Not even necessarily text from ChatGPT itself, but it could be it melds into our culture and we just become more linguistically meandering.
You know how autotune was invented, and then it is used to correct singing to make it more how it was supposed, and then people started enjoying the aesthetic of autotune, and then you got an aesthetic of things being very heavily auto-tuned, like the auto-tune became the thing. I wonder whether in 20 years' time we'll have people writing novels like trying to emulate the style of ChatGPT.
That'd be
like intentional plot holes and but craft not exactly what an affectation. Yeah.
So anyway, we're gonna wrap up 20 minutes.
Yes, let's But, good luck time.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Thanks for joining us. Comments, as always, they're the ones we want. And we'll see you in the next one. Toodaloo.
Bye-bye.